I'd like to call this meeting to order, August 30th, 2021, 5 p.m. Consistent with the governor's orders of extending certain provisions of open meeting law, every effort will be made to allow the public to view and or to listen to the meeting in real time. Persons who do wish are so invited to click on the following link. If you don't have a camera, you can dial in as well. So I'd like to call the meeting to order in public participation. Ann, did we have anything for tonight?
We did not.
Okay. So okay, so item number 2 for tonight will be previous water and sewer abatement requests. We have a specific account we want to start with, Ann, or name?
Yes, please. Could we start with 331 Albion Street? So if people, just to remind people, that was, there's 6 condos, 3 buildings. They have outside water irrigation. Last September bill was much larger than it had been in the past. Although last summer was the summer of a lot of watering, a very warm, dry summer, and COVID. So the September reading was 21,800. And prior to that, the highest read had been 8,500. I did go out there and I met Fred from Sprinkler Design there on a couple of occasions. We checked. We couldn't find a leak. The woman who is renting the home that has the meter in it mentioned she thought it was leaking. She had checked it a few times and it moved a little, but we couldn't find anything. We ran it while I was there. Fred checked it. We found no leak. So I did talk to Fred from Designer Sprinklers. He said that, he sets it, puts it on, but he's like, there's a landscaper there. So he's like, the landscaper can change it, the sensor can change it, all that kind of stuff. So he's like, I don't know where the was left. You know what I mean? We checked the timer. There was nothing. Nothing
Yeah,
on.
unless that was all locked down, it can be changed.
Correct.
And when we heard this one before, I appreciate it's so helpful having your little summaries in the email of what our prior discussions were. Did we request, do you have notes that we requested anything specific as follow-up for this one?
So yes, we were going to watch it and see how, this spring was. So of course, obviously very hard to compare last spring to this spring, a little more rain this year than last year. But it was, they did use 2,200 in the spring, which is not, last year they used 500 during the same period. So they did do more watering this spring than they did last spring.
I seem to recall that our general opinion of this the last time was that there's really nothing compelling to show that there was any issue. They just did something that used more water for some period of time, whether it was watering more or whatever. But if they can't find any leak, they can't show us that they have any leak. I don't really see how we abate anything.
And to your point, Elena, we did nothing and the meter went to what he felt was normal after the watering stopped. Like you can actually see I talked to Fred at the sprinkler place. I think he said October 22nd or 3rd, he turned it off. And you can see during the consumption, it went right down. Like they used 100, which I assume is that little bit of a leak that the woman who rents had told me about.
Mm-hmm. And when do we get that summer consumption for this?
So we'll read in like the 2nd or 3rd week of September. And then the bill will come out October.
And what happens if it's, I guess what happens if it's extremely low compared to that versus what happens if it's the same or close to what it was last year?
Oh, so I'm gonna guess that it will be lower only because July had the most rain we've ever had. So it's
Yeah.
so hard to compare. You know, people say, oh, my last year one was higher. I'm like, well, this year you probably didn't water.
I don't see how we do anything but deny
Yeah,
them.
I don't have any, we have no evidence in front of us that would show there's any type of leak that would cause that. But I mean, that water was used one way or the other. I don't know where though.
The lawn is beautiful. I need him to have, I need my lawn to look as good. That's really nice. My thought was that we would let them have 2 years. They could have 2 years payment plan to pay it off where it was high, and we could just put them on they can do a monthly, or they could just have 2 years to pay, whichever works for them.
I think that's very reasonable. And there was no sewer fee for any of this usage, right? This was on a lawn meter. Oh, no, wait, we don't have lawn meters.
Yeah, no, it's.
There is
it's
sewer.
Right, okay.
Yeah, I think that's very fair.
Okay, great. I will follow up with him tomorrow.
Okay, do we need to vote on each one of these, Ann, or would you prefer?
Yeah, that would be great.
Okay, so I'll entertain a motion from anybody regarding 331 Albion Street.
So I'll make a motion that we deny any abatement for 331 Albion Street, but that we recommend a payment plan be offered for over the next 2 years.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Maria. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 3-0.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ann. Would 1C Melvin Street rear be next?
Yes, please. So gentleman, kind of inconsistent usage. He has a company that sells car detailing paint and such. I went there on your recommendation to take a look. There are 2 toilets, a sink, and I found no leak, but it was well after the fact. His is back also from the fall. So I didn't find anything. It doesn't look like a lot of foot traffic in there. I couldn't find any water damage or anything like that, but the bathrooms there's a counter where the people stand to handle the customers. The bathrooms are a little further back, so if there was running, I could see it might have run and they didn't hear it. I just noticed one of my bathrooms leaking and it doesn't make any noise. It's just leaking. So I might have to abate my bill. I'll be back.
Might get a leak letter in.
Yeah, exactly. But I could find no issue. I could find no reason. Toilet could have been leaking and fixed. He's not at that office all the time. So
is this a commercial business?
it is.
It is. Yeah, I
So
remember him.
Okay, it is commercial.
Mhm.
And it looks like there was a similar spike in 2017 in the data.
Yes.
So maybe they do have a toilet or something with an intermittent leak that just, when it doesn't seal properly, it leaks for a week and then.
And the next, because there's actually 2 bathrooms. So if someone only uses the first bathroom, the second bathroom could be running for a week or 2 before someone goes in there.
Yeah.
The day I was there was only one person working the counter. He was the only one in the building.
And so last time we just requested that you go and take a look. That was our conclusion.
Yes.
So this seems like another case of the above. We really don't
It
have
does.
evidence that there was some type of leak but water was used.
Water was used. And I think Anne he has a recent meter, doesn't he, at that business?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, does anyone else have any other input on this particular account?
So if he thought that he had a toilet leak and then he had the toilet replaced, what would we be abating? What's our kind of our standard?
So 24.5% of the sewer is what we would abate. That covers the 70, the NWRA portion.
Yeah,
What was that percentage, Ann? Sorry.
24.5%.
Okay.
so we would be covering like a couple $100 if that's what he opted to do,
Correct.
which is probably less than the cost for him to get new toilets, especially if he doesn't know which one is causing the problem. I don't know, that would be my only thought, other than denial. I think the only alternative is he replaces both toilets.
Well, the thing here that I'm wondering, Elena, is it's a rental. It says the property's a rental. So would he himself, I mean, is he responsible for replacing the toilets or?
Oh, he's the tenant?
He's a tenant.
Oh, this, okay.
Hmm.
So if we did do 24.5% of the sewer, it'd come to an abatement of $236.37.
So I would say that if he wants to swap out his toilets, then maybe we entertain that rebate. Did you happen to glean if the toilets look really old?
They looked average. They didn't look new. They didn't look old, but they definitely weren't brand new.
Because I'm just thinking if they're also like higher flush, 6-gallon flushes or something, there's some benefit to everybody for them to. But that is tricky where he's not the property owner.
So were you is your line of thinking, Elena, that we would abate some of the sewer if he agrees to replace the toilets? Is that what you're
Yeah,
thinking?
basically I would think maybe we would say the abatement is denied. However, if you want to replace both of the toilets and we submit with your receipts and proof that you did that, then we could abate that 24%.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't know if everybody agrees. But that's what we would do. I guess I'm trying to think of like.
An incentive, not an incentive, but a way
Yeah, that and also in terms of fairness, like if he'd come in from the beginning and said I replaced my toilets because I think that was the problem, then we would be giving him this rebate.
Correct.
So,
yes.
you're almost penalizing him for being honest and saying, I'm not sure if that's the problem, right?
Right.
So I'm just thinking in fairness to like make it comparable to the other people who come in and say, I replaced my toilet and I want this.
But in the past, I mean, so I'm fine with having like sort of a standard response, because to me it makes sense that we have a sort of a, the sort of the chain, as I understand it, and jump in if I'm incorrect, is the resident has an issue with their bill, they call, or the DPW calls them and says you have really high usage for some reason. Can you check whatever? Is it, line, toilets, etc. But in this instance, did we contact him? My thought was he just got in touch because he thought there was a jump. Did we first proactively reach out to him?
Yes, we did. And he checked and he couldn't find anything. Then he got his bill and he was like way too high. Then we denied the claim
Mhm.
just because there was no backup. We couldn't
Yep.
find it. And then he appealed to the board.
Okay. Do you remember, Ann, and I'm so sorry to go
No.
through every little niggly thing, but did he do the toilet dye test as well in those two toilets?
I did give him some and he said, no, yes, I believe
He
he
did
did.
them. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
But I can confirm that with him.
Yeah, it's a tough one.
I'm fine either way. If you want to say that it's denied because he did do the toilet tabs and there's no evidence of a leak.
I mean, I'll entertain any motion that anyone would like to make on it.
And I'm beating the dead horse, I know, but if we do this with the toilets, where the assumption that we have then is that that's the most likely place of the leak. Correct? Not that somebody perhaps used the facility, washed their hands, and perhaps left the drain, the faucet not
On.
completely shut off. I'm just trying to, for me, just to get my head around what our process is so that we, like, is our default going to be when we've checked every route that we're just going to default to the toilets if there's no other obvious. And if that's what we're going to do, that's fine. That will be our kind of fallback standard once the resident or the commercial property person has done all their due diligence in chasing down a leak.
I guess the reason why I feel a little differently about this rather than like a single family home is that it sounds like the only places where this business has water is two toilets and a sink. It's a little different than,
Right.
I certainly would conclude, if it was a single family home, I certainly wouldn't conclude that we couldn't figure out what it was, so it has to be a leaky toilet. Because there are so many things in
Mhm.
the house, so many faucets people could leave running, or outdoor spigots that are running or leaking, or irrigation systems, or anything, a dishwasher that isn't working properly and is running all the time or something. Who knows? I feel like the possibilities are endless, but with this, it just sounds like it's very concentrated. It's this one commercial unit, right? With two sinks and two toilets and a sink.
Yeah, the strange thing about it is that we didn't, the meter didn't get changed since then. And it's now seems to what he feels is normal, 300 cubic feet. So either the toilets got changed already or the sink got left on or something, because now it's back to normal. And I did check with him. I checked our notes and he did receive an abatement for his hot water tank. And the hot water tank, I saw it when I was there, looked new. It's a smaller tank. There was no water,
Yep.
Mhm. So do we want to move forward then with the offering him to mitigate the sewer, some of the sewer fees if he replaces the toilets?
Yeah, if that's Maria's motion, or Elena.
Elena's,
I'm just gonna make that motion. I think it's reasonable. So, like I said, given the tiny scope of what's using water at that property, there are really hardly any choices of what could be
Mhm.
running. There's no outdoor water there, correct? Yeah.
No, I couldn't find a spigot that belonged to that company. There
And-
is next door a auto body shop, but I couldn't see him. There'd be no reason for him to go over there.
And all they're doing here is sales, right? There's no manufacturing. There's no.
No, it looks like a purely shop that sells paint for cars.
All right, so I think that this is reasonable then. So I'm gonna make a motion that we only allow an abatement for the 24%. 24 point something.
Yep.
Of the
24.5.
of the sewer fee. If the property owner or tenant opts to replace both toilets. Otherwise, no abatement.
Okay.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Maria. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 3-0. Okay. Next on the list is 44 Oak Street.
Yep, thank you. So that resident, they had planted some grass last summer. They hand watered it. It died. They put in second sod down. They hand watered that. Their bill was very high, and it is now back. We replaced the meter, and it now appears to be back to normal. It was dry summer last year. I went by this year. It looks like they've cut down on the watering. They did do some watering, but it's not as green as it had been in the past.
And so I think, was that the case where the meter, did they have to come in to read that meter? That was, they had an old meter, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So where one could assume that there was meter involvement. Is that, would I be incorrect in saying that?
I would never say you were incorrect, Maria. But I do think that
Anytime.
the meters slow down, don't speed up, we've
Okay.
never seen that to happen.
Mhm.
Usually people are sad when they get the new meter because they're more accurate than their old meter.
Okay.
Yeah, it's very hard for the meter to spin without water going through it. So it's hard to
Okay.
misregister high.
Mhm.
These meters.
So then this is another instance that we were just talking about with a home where there's multiple places where the water could have, someone else might have left the hose on, there might have been a leak in the toilet, right? There could have been.
And when things aren't on a timer, outside watering isn't on a timer, it's very hard. Was it 10 minutes or 25 minutes it was on? A lot of water goes through that.
Mhm.
I think they used the water, they realized they used the water, and now they're being more careful, especially if they have no irrigation system, hand watering, and it was brand new grass. I'm sure they're not out there watering their grass a couple times a day.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. I was actually surprised that their June bill was 1,800 cubic feet, only because it was such a wet spring. I mean, this has been the best spring for me and my watering. We have a garden. We didn't even water in July.
But it didn't really get super wet until July, right?
Yeah, very wet in July, but even June wasn't unbelievable. It wasn't like last year.
Right.
But that's still substantially below their typical summer usage. They're looking at 3,400.
Yeah, so last year was 22 and this year was 18.
Oh, right. 62520 was 22.
Yeah, so kind of right in that area.
I don't have a lot of sympathy for this one. I think they used the water. They can use more than.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think there's some maybe overwatering, or again, not any evidence of leaks or anything that water was used. Yeah, I'm gonna make a motion to deny this abatement. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second.
Seconded by Elena or Maria, whoever said it first.
Whoever.
Uh, all in favor?
Aye.
Hi.
Motion carries 3-0. New requests, 75 Nahan Street. Ann, is that who you wanted to start with?
Yes, please. So the house is, no one's living in the house, and there was a water leak in the basement where they had part dirt and part finished. So the water ran for quite a while.
Oh,
The neighbor
I'd
noticed
say
6 feet of water in the basement.
oh my
Oh,
God.
my goodness.
So the bill was $34,000, 34,400.
Yikes.
So it seems to me that on this one, we're 100% sure it didn't go into the sewer.
Yes, that is correct.
So this seems pretty straightforward that, I mean, I would say that we abate, I don't see why we wouldn't abate 100% of the sewer. Because like the 24% of the sewer, 24.5% is to say that we will abate the portion that we incurred, but we still have to pay the MWRA. But in this case, we don't have to pay the MWRA at all. And as opposed to someone who, in my mind, this is a very different case than someone who used the water, even though we know it was outdoor water use. They used the water, they used more than they thought. They shouldn't have done that. And our policy is that they pay sewer on outdoor water use, because that's the way our metering works.
Mhm.
But this is clearly a break, an emergency situation, and we know it didn't go into the sewer. So I don't see why we wouldn't abate the whole sewer, because there really, in reality, was zero sewer cost for that usage.
Yeah. I agree with you there, Elena.
And I realize
So-
it's a huge sum, but at the same time, it's not real. I mean, the other.
It's
sewer
case by
users-
case.
Mhm.
This is
So-
a,
In this instance, then, would we also, given how high just the water portion is, almost 14,000, would we offer them a payment, time for payment as well, Ann? Is that possible?
Absolutely.
yeah.
We're always willing, if people are willing, we're always willing to work out a payment plan if that's what it takes.
And I-
That's quite a bill that most, I'm sure that homeowner didn't reckon for that, that charge. That's
I've never seen usage that high,
nor I, no.
ever.
And this is your business, Elena.
Right?
This is your business.
Yeah, especially if you're a residential meter. And this is like what you might see through a major commercial property or something.
Mhm.
And you know, we've had this same case on a much smaller scale. We've never had it with these kinds of numbers. But when we've had this case where, let's say, a hot water heater bursts and they have a high bill and they get it fixed. What have we done in the past, you know?
Yeah, we've never had one like this, that where that much water went. Usually we do abate if there's a leak, we'll abate the sewer portion of the bill.
And not touch the water portion because they did use the water.
Because it got used, sadly. I mean, one is, we're gonna try to remind people, we have a lot of flips going on in Wakefield, and people should really, if they're not gonna be there, shut the water off. Remind them, this is one of those cases where
Mhm.
no one was in the house for months, and
Right.
the neighbor hadn't noticed, it would have been worse.
Wow.
Yeah, we just had a similar case in Melrose with someone who was away, who goes away for the winter, didn't shut their water off, and they had a leak, and it flooded their basement, and they had a high bill. And so that is definitely a message that should get out, that if you're not home, and nobody, if the house is vacant for any period of time, you really should be shutting the water off. It's far too much of a risk to just leave it stagnant and risk having something wrong.
And I think last year was unusual because people did go away. With this, that we have another dispute that the same issue. They went to the Cape to get away from here. A neighbor noticed the water. They had a broken pipe.
Okay.
Yeah, so I would think that the $20,000 reduction, obviously 13,000 is still enormous,
Mhm.
but
It's better than 34,000. Mhm.
yeah, and then a payment plan.
Yeah,
Want to make that emotionally now, or does Maria?
Sure. I'll make a motion that for 75 Nahant Street, that we abate 100% of the sewer fee for the water that we know was a break in the basement and did not enter the sewer. And everything was off otherwise, right? So we don't have to subtract out any like typical usage.
no, it had been off.
Okay, all right, so that's it. So that's. the
I
end of
second
my-
that, I second that motion. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 3-0. Next, we have 1 Fairview Drive.
Yes, so 1 Fairview Drive, I think this is a case where the estimated bill caught up with the regular usage because I think he had an estimated bill in September of last year. And so it was dry, hot summer, COVID. I don't know if I can never say that again, but I keep saying it. And then the 12/29 bill caught up with the manual read. So we haven't been able to get a read there. We called and got a manual read, and that looks like it was kind of I think caught up to the high usage in September.
So the only question that I would have is that now that we have tiered rates, if this wasn't really usage that all happened at once, how much of the usage was kicked into the higher tier that probably was really used at the tier 1 rate over a longer span?
Yeah, and certainly we could charge them. We could take everything out of the tier 3 and make it tier 2 and adjust the bill that way.
I think that might be reasonable. I had a similar situation with a family member who actually I was helping with the water bill dispute that they had. That was exactly that same case where their meter wasn't working properly. The town hadn't come out to replace it. Do we know, did these people not let us in to replace it? Like, why hadn't we replaced that meter for so long?
We had sent cards, we called, no luck.
That makes me feel a little differently about it. But you know, the case that I was just describing, they hadn't attempted to replace the meter, and then when they came out and replaced it, they just replaced it as part of like a meter replacement program, and they determined that the usage was, or they hadn't checked it, and then I think when they swapped out the meter, they found an actual read that was higher than expected. But the argument that I had made at that time was that, you know, they didn't use all this water in one quarter.
Sure.
So it really should have been billed at the years. So they are requesting an abatement
Yes.
of, what do they think should be abated?
The 7,900 is out of line, looking to pay like 4,000, 4,100.
So their issue is with the 7,900.
Yes,
Is that what you're saying? Back in December.
yes.
When did they reach out to you all about it? How long has this one been going?
They didn't reach out to until the spring when they went, I assume when they went to pay their bill in April,
Okay.
because that's when we changed the meter, April 14th, we changed the meter.
So I think it's probably a minimal amount to drop it down to the tier 2 rate, right?
Correct.
Just for that one bill. I think that's all that would be reasonable to me. If anything, because they did not respond for a good long time about getting the meter replaced. You're muted, Chris.
And this needs to be, closed up. It's gone on long enough.
Mhm.
Yeah, I agree with you, Elena.
Also, I think that's a good recommendation, a good offer.
And I think it accurately reflects what
Occurred.
probably when the usage took place.
So do you want to make a motion then, Elena, for that one?
Sure, so I'll make a motion that for one Fairview Drive, that the December 2020 bill be reduced by the amount that's reflected from changing any tier 3 or above usage into tier 2 usage. Does that make sense, Ann?
Yes.
Worded properly.
I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 3-0. Next on the list, I had 38R Walton Street.
Yes, so they had a pipe burst when they were down the Cape. A neighbor noticed it. And they had 45,100 cubic feet used.
This is the same case as the one with 150,000.
Just a little less dramatic.
Mhm.
Only a little though.
Yeah.
Still pretty dramatic.
Yes.
So I'm just gonna jump right in and make a motion then. Make a motion that for 38R Walton Street, is that the end? That we abate the sewer portion at 100%.
I'm going to second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 3-0. Finally, 533 Lowell Street.
So this is a strange one. So they have very, very inconsistent water usage. So inconsistent, I can't even figure it out. So they're a family of 4. They have a large yard, nice green lawn. They have, in the past, have had usage very low for me, for a family of 4, 200, 700, 500. Then they had this spike in December that was 20,100. The next quarter, it went back down to 200. So we did replace the meter in January of this year. And we had somewhat of the June water bill had usage of 3,600.
They're disputing though this December 2020 water bill.
Yes,
So the first bill that they received with the new meter would have been the 3/24/21 bill, is that right?
correct.
Okay. Wow. Is this another instance, Anne, where we were, the town would have been in touch with them to ask that we come and upgrade their meter?
This one. Yes, they had gotten cards according to the text.
Okay. That's, well, it's very curious, the usage, that's for sure.
Quite the spike.
We don't have any history beyond this, or they only own the house for 2 years.
Correct.
Do we sense that they might have another property and so that they're not at this home all that often? I mean, 200 is quite something for a family of 4.
There's no way. It's impossible unless they don't clean themselves. They have to not shower.
Or they can give us all lessons in sustainability. That is impressive.
Yeah, that's impossible.
And so what we've said is the meters, when they age, they tend to, if anything,
Slow
what
down.
happens? They slow?
Yes, they slow.
Okay, they slow.
They do have irrigation according to our notes. So we were like, did you have a leak in your irrigation, which can happen? No, they didn't have, we were trying to send them down the path, like, help us with this, if you had a leak, tell us, but no leak.
Because that December usage would line up with some freeze thaw.
Yes,
Whereas June, where it's hot, you see the usage go back up, water in the lawn.
yes.
Right.
And just over the past year, look at June 2020 to June 2021, the usage.
Right. Well, so the June 2021 looks reasonable, right? A
Right.
family of 4 and knowing they have outside irrigation.
And that's with the new meter this year.
But how, they were getting a great deal in very hot June 2020 with an irrigation system and their
Yeah.
4 individuals. Wow.
Is it like a couple with 2 little kids? What is this
And
family?
I think it is younger children.
Okay.
Even 700 is nothing.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what to, this one's really sort of a,
I guess
I don't know what
think
to make of
we
it.
track it longer because they really, I would expect that we would see it even off more at this current level.
Yeah, like September, we'll get another reading, right?
3,600 seems more reasonable for the size family. It seems a little high, but not, say, water. It doesn't seem crazy.
Has the homeowner indicated that they feel, have they said anything about the 3,600? Are they questioning that also?
We haven't heard from them since they got that.
Okay, okay.
I think I'd like to track this one a little longer. I think it's so out there and doesn't make any sense. That we need a little more data.
Yeah, I'd like a little
Yeah.
more info.
Agree.
I'll make a motion that we table this 533 Lowell Street and gather some more data, some more readings.
Second.
Seconded by Elena. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 3-0. New business. What's going on in the DPW world, Ann?
So we got a lot going on right now. We're doing some paving. Vinton Street got paved, where we have a lot of projects kind of getting completed right now, which is great. We are doing some curbing on Broadway, so hopefully, I heard last September 21st is the big date we're looking at for the railroad to open.
Oh, wow. Fantastic.
Yeah. So we have our fingers crossed for that, though. Don't plan on crossing that day, but
Nice.
we do have several meeting notes completed and finished, some that we'll send out and then have you guys read and approve it for the next meeting, if that's okay.
That's fine.
Sure.
Great. I think we don't have a ton, I don't have a ton to tell you. We did our cardboard container down the pit has been going well. We're emptying it weekly now at about a half a ton, third of a ton. So that's been good. I think people are warming up to it.
Oh,
Oh,
good.
good. Nice.
And tell me again, remind me again, Ann, for the pink bag folks, the recycling textile company, we're now supposed to email them? Is that what it is in advance, or how is that supposed to work?
Yeah, so if you go to their website and you put in Wakefield, you can
Mhm.
actually schedule a pickup and they'll tell you which days they're gonna be here.
Oh, okay,
I did it the other day for someone and it was 2 days out. So
okay,
it was Monday and I scheduled it for a Wednesday.
super.
And this came up the other day here where we were being asked to renew our contract with Simple Recycling. And I was asking a lot of questions about, if now it's a scheduled pickup and it's not the convenience of they come on your trash day, then now it's not any different than calling Big Brother, Big Sister, or the Veterans or the Epilepsy Foundation to come pick up your stuff. So what's the use of a contract?
So the only benefit I can see with the new contract is that they'll give you 5 cents for a pickup. That's the only thing that's making them a little different. Otherwise, you are correct. It's the same as calling Red Cross, epilepsy, whoever. But they are.
Doesn't have any obligation to solely recommend Simple Recycling for the contract, right?
Correct.
So my recommendation here in Melrose was, let's start listing them along with any charities that we know of that also pick this stuff up, and say, you can throw stuff in the bins at the schools, or you can call Big Brother, Big Sister, or you can call Simple Recycling and use your pink bags. Make it more just one of many choices, because to me, it's like when you take away the convenience factor of having it picked up on trash day, I know we really want to push getting these materials out of the trash stream. But now I kind of feel like we're just recommending that people use a for-profit company as opposed to a nonprofit.
Yeah, like
Why?
I don't have kids yet, but like before, wasn't like some of the PTOs benefiting from some of those bins at the schools?
Yeah, and I will say those bins lately at the Greenwood have been absolutely overflowing.
You can't get to them, no.
More so than I've ever seen. And I don't know what has resulted in that uptick, but in the last 3 months, anytime I've gone to throw even just a tiny bag of I'll save like textiles, like kids' clothes that have rips and stuff, and throw them in there. And I can't even get like a little bag of clothes into those bins.
Now, is it because of the inconvenience of the other company, maybe? When was the timing of that?
I've noticed they've been full at the Greenwood because that's the one that usually I will use. They've been fairly full now for months. I
Yeah,
mean, a lot of times I'll go by and I can't. It's like, oh, not today.
and I don't know when Simple Recycling, and you know when they stopped doing curbside?
Mid-June.
Okay, so pretty similar timing then from when those bins have been filling.
Oh, yeah, I didn't correlate that. Yeah.
It makes sense.
So part of our DEP, RDP grant, they asked that you advertise. One of the criteria is to advertise for textile recycling. So in our last newsletter, we listed all the locations where Bay State Recycling was. We put their address, and we did put how much money the schools, PTOs had made. So I don't know if that was some incentive for people. I think some people see the boxes and don't know that the school does benefit, that it helps each individual school, so people can pick where they want to drop their stuff off. So that may have helped a little. It'll be in every newsletter going forward in order for us to make that RDP $1,300.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so maybe that is part of why they started using those more. But I mean, I've always been a proponent of pushing the use of those because at least we get some money back from it. And I liken the Simple Recycling now to the Goodwill, which, you know, I mean, the Goodwill supposedly supports some sort of charities, but they're not a nonprofit themselves. And, you know, but there's convenience for whatever reason in their drop-off locations, and people use them a lot. Whereas if you bring it to Salvation Army or some other places, you kind of know where your donation is actually, like who it's helping. And I feel like Simple Recycling is now, you just don't really know where the money's going. I think they're just using it for profit.
And I'm disappointed that they no longer provide the pink bag, because that was part of, I think that.
Oh, they don't provide that either.
No,
Oh, interesting.
You can
Okay.
just put it into a regular trash bag or a cardboard box and just label
Okay.
it. But that was one of the things that I liked
Yeah.
about their program.
Yeah,
Drop
that's the
one,
idea.
get one.
Right.
Yeah, I am pretty disappointed with their shifts in their business model. I mean, obviously they must have found that it wasn't profitable enough for them, but now I think it kind of ruins the whole idea.
Yes.
Can we invite them to a meeting?
Absolutely.
Wouldn't
Great.
hurt.
When does our contract run out with them, Anne, or how long did we sign?
So our contract is up with them. We didn't re-sign on this new
Okay.
system yet. We wanted to see if it was even going to work.
Okay.
We were very leery when they first came, Joe especially, because it almost sounded too good to be true.
Mhm.
So for a year, maybe it was a year and a half, and then now it's not where we would want it to be.
Yeah.
The pink bags were great to give out. It was great for people to, it was so easy. Leave it out,
Convenient,
it gets picked
convenient.
up, and they left you one.
Right. Well, we tried it. It was curious to me as well about their business model. It just seemed, I wondered how much profit they could make on it, but they certainly were very confident
Yes.
in presenting the fact that it was this terrific model. But, the pandemic has changed lots of folks' business models. So, maybe it's,
Very quickly too.
yeah. But I think that one thing for me in general, and I think it might have been through talking about them coming to Wakefield. I think, Elena, you mentioned those boxes at the schools. I did not know. So, okay, I'm on the record. I don't do the bills in my household. My partner does the bills, so I don't see the newsletter that comes, the DPW newsletter. Oftentimes he'll save it for me, but sometimes he forgets. So I didn't realize they had this textile recycling, and I've always had real guilt about like old towels and,
Oh,
you know, I don't want to be filling landfills. And so when I heard about those, I thought, oh, it's so fabulous. So I'm like a frequent flyer to those Greenwood boxes. So that habit didn't die, even with the pink bags. But I just, in general, I think it's a wonderful, if we can keep reinforcing that message to people in the community that, you know, textile recycling really does serve a purpose. So anyway.
Yeah, I think it's such a good message too, that, and I'm sure I've said this before, but I never knew what to do with like clothes that had stains or holes, or I just thought you have to throw those out. Like the other stuff goes to the Goodwill equivalent, but that stuff has no,
Yes. Yeah.
bring it anywhere. And now, I mean, I have a bag in my closet where I throw, you know, every time a sock has a hole in it or whatever, it goes in the bag. And then
With no guilt.
yeah, just a little, you know, a little plastic store, you know, supermarket bag. And when the bag is full, it's just a tiny bag, and I go toss it in the bin. And it's just such a simple concept. And
Right.
you know, I think that needs to definitely be advertised better, because I bet most people still don't realize that you can throw that stuff.
Right. Next meeting, Ann, did you want to discuss that, or did you need to discuss that with Joe?
yeah, I'll talk to Joe and then see if we can get Sonny to call in. It works out great for them because he's out of Ohio, I believe, but he can
Okay.
even do a Zoom call, I'm sure. So,
Great.
Great.
Super.
And then number 5 was next meeting. Do we need to speak with Joe, Ann, or throw a couple dates out, or we want to book something now?
yeah, can I talk to Joe and then send out an email to you?
Sure.
if it works. Thank you.
Great. Does anyone have anything else?
I don't think so. Yeah, no.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Nothing. Thanks a lot, everybody.
Thank